Hey, Zero Pass coming at you with updated Jamyocongo deck. It's not the vanilla version, and it's a different version that I talked about a while ago. And there was a subscriber up there, or a viewer up there, who was asking me to post my most recent deck. And yesterday I was trying out, I think, 3 different builds. One was vanilla, of course, got up there, and then the other one that I was using Bakurin Fuki with, but this is the one that uses the Hagakure and Tanya, and it's pretty awesome. I really enjoyed playing it, so I want to bring it to you, and hope you guys enjoy the deck profile. So 4 heals, 20 Ks, of course, 3 criticals, GB1 into soul, give plus 10 to your Vanguard until end of battle. Draw a card. 4 of the crit stride fodders. 4 PG draw. And of course the 1 over trigger. So I really wouldn't change much here. If you wanted a little extra draw, you could replace these, but these effectively draw cards. So just really putting on a lot of pressure here. I wouldn't change anything. I tried to zoom it in a little bit too because some of y'all out there wanted to see the cards a little closer. So yeah, trying to make little adjustments for you guys. And then we're running one of my favorite cards from V-Era for Nubatama, Hagakure. So Hagakure, it's a grade 0, which is really important actually in here. On rearguard and guardian circle, when placed, choose one of your units and increase or decrease the unit, this unit's attack and shield to match that unit. So if you guard with a heal, for example, you can then make this a 20. If you guard with a 15K, 15. And more importantly, perhaps, is when you're building a field, when you stride on your Vanguard and you've got, say, 27 force for your Vanguard, you can copy that onto him. The other important thing is the fact that he's a grade 0, and there's a grade 2 in here now that can actually recur this card for us, which is really awesome. And we'll get to that in a bit. So let's just go through the rest of the deck profile. So I've got 4 Sakura Fubuki. A few ratios here you could probably play with. I typically run 3, but I had room, so I put in up to 4. So the way Sakura Fubuki works is when placed in a rearguard circle, if you have 3 or more units, discard a card from your hand. He gets +3 until end of turn, and if there are 1 or less face-up cards in your damage zone, you draw a card and you can countercharge. So this is our countercharger. I've got Katara Kitsune at 4. This is a Jamyocongo deck. Jamyocongo is really your only ride target, and so you want to maximize this. Rearguard circle during your turn. If you have a token, he gets +5, which is really cool. Makes him a 13K booster beater. On Vanguard or Rearguard, when placed from hand, look at the top 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 grade 3 from among them. Put it in your hand. Shuffle your deck. And if you put a card in your hand, you discard a card. So again, you want to get into Jamyocongo as the target there. And then lastly, because it is a Jaku Mesa Jamyocongo deck, I have Kirigiri at 3. I typically don't use this card, but it is in here in case you need it. Yamashibuki I tend to use more for tokens, and we'll get to that. So act, rearguard circle, Soul Blast 2, return this unit to your hand, call up to 2 evil decoy tokens to the rearguard circle. So you can actually recur this, which is kind of cool, and I do recommend running this 2 to 3 copies, and as you can see here, I'm running it at 3. So you really want tokens. Yeah, you really want tokens, otherwise you're wasting other resources. So grade 2s, we're running 3 Ungai. Ungai turns off over triggers, so if your opponent, if you have a way of balancing this and putting it into play, which you will in this deck, or if you're dominating and you're attacking during your main phase, what you can do then afterwards, if your opponent hits an over trigger, is you can use Ungai. And so Ungai, the way he works is on rearguard circle, choose, let's see here, GB1. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle, choose up to 2 of your rearguards and up to 1 of your opponent's units. The attack of those units increase or decrease to 11,000. So basically you pick him, make him 11. If you got something behind him, make it 11, for example, and then reset your opponent's 100 million to 11. So yeah, it's pretty cool that we have this, and I recommend running this. You could run it maybe at 2, but I'm trying to maximize it as much as I can, just because overtriggers can really hurt and end games. But Ungai can help you bounce back, given the situation. Yamashibuki, awesome card, my favorite card from the set this came out of, with Hanzo. On the rearguard circle, continuous during your turn, this gets +5 attack power for each of your grade 0s, which is awesome. It's not just tokens, so those Hagakures I showed you also give this +5. Auto, Vanguard, Rearguard, when it attacks, counterblast 1, return one of your other rearguards to your hand and call up to 2 evil decoy tokens on the rearguard circles. So I like this card because I can rush with this card. It allows me to attack with something and then use this to attack to bounce that back to my hand and call out 2 evil decoy tokens. So I really like this card, and it's fundamental to the deck in terms of running more smoothly. So it gives it gas. And then lastly, D-era support. Yeah, Blaze Maiden Tanya. When this unit is placed on rear circle counterblast 1, choose a grade 0 card from your drop zone and call it to rearguard circle. And then auto, when this unit attacks Soul Blast 1, choose one of your grade 0 units and it gets plus 5,000 attack power added to it until end of turn. So this card is pretty cool because, for example, if you have Hagakure in your discard, you can then go get him, place him, and then copy a force, and then he's boosting. It's pretty cool. You can actually do something like, kind of feels like Ghost Chase with going and getting a PG, and then when you swing with Jakumesa, you bounce the board back to your hand, you get that PG back in your hand. So you can recur grade 0 perfect guards. So really powerful card that ports really well into this deck and what this deck tries to do. So the grade 2s. I know someone was asking about Gale. There's no room unless you want to get rid. You could replace Ungai. I don't recommend it because Ungai is just that powerful against an overtrigger, and overtriggers are powerful. So our boss, Jamyocongo auto, Vanguard when placed in at the end of each turn. Your opponent checks their hand, discards down to 6. If you've got a grade 3 in Soul, that is now changed to 4. And the last card I have in here is Tribash. Tribash is yet another phenomenal addition to the Nubatama arsenal of card choices. Auto, rearguard. When your Vanguard attacks, if your opponent has 2 or less rearguards, put this unit into your Soul. Choose one of your Vanguards and it gets +1 crit until end of battle. So you can already see the synergy here. You ride onto this, you call this, and yeah, if your opponent has 2 or less units, you attack with this first, and then this goes into Soul. This gets a crit, you attack at the end of your turn. Your opponent's hand now goes down to 4, which is pretty cool. So, yeah. Now I want to point out the thing about Jamyocongo, and I understand people don't enjoy playing it, but the thing about Jamyocongo is it plays differently in the sense that I'm not generating 7, 8, 9, 10 attacks, right? We're limiting hand and generating fewer attacks. So when you think about it, in terms of fairness, yeah, I'd say it's a pretty fair card. There are some problems with the card. Renee, that's why it was choice restricted. And there may be some other problems as well, potentially, but my play group does just fine. So our starter is Midoi. Just pick whichever one you want. I like this one. It's really cool. It's really colorful. It's awesome. And then we're off to the G zone. So this, you need all these cards, all these utility cards to make the deck hum. So Dismal to protect one of your rear guards. Sashikime. When you guard with this, you if you're GB1, you can then flip a G Guardian and then force your opponent to either discard a card or she gets +20 on guard. It's really cool. This is our Dominate Guardian, counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. Choose one of your opponent's grade 1s in the back row, bring it into the Guardian circle to add the force from that card that you brought in, and then it gets retired at the end of turn. And then we have Hagakure. Hagakure is the one where when this unit is placed on a Guardian Circle, if the number of cards in your opponent's hand is 3 or more, till the end of the battle it gets +5. If it is 6 or more, it gets +10. So pretty good. And then I have Abadutashi in here. Abadutashi works okay with Jamyocongo. When this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, if the number of cards in your opponent's hand is 6 or less, this gets +5. So this gets +5 if it's 3 or more. Gets +10 if it's 6 or more. This gets +5 if your opponent's hand is 6 or less, period. And so the reason I like this card is this is 3 or more +5. If your opponent has 1 or 2 cards in hand or 0, this is still getting +5, whereas this one isn't. So just to explain why would I go back and run such an old average Guardian? That's why. It's because Jamyocongo and the fact that this meets a requirement for getting +5 even if the hand of the opponent is less than 3. Instead of running 2 of this, that's why I have that in there. So makes sense to me. I haven't had problems. It's been good for me as an option. So, although I really haven't had to use it much. So, strides. Gilgal, really don't need Gilgal in here, but he's in here. This, if you Persona Toss, you can then not have to pay the cost for Stride for the rest of the game. You still have to pay for Ultimate Stride, but not Stride. So the way he works is, on attack, Counterblast 2, Soul Blast 1, it attacks the field, and for each card that, let's see here. So unit battles all opponents' units in one attack and gets +10k. And auto, when its attack hits, you countercharge. So it's a board removal, but it's kind of heavy in the cost, so you're not typically going to use this. But if you rush down really hard and you're able to use this and then clean up that board that's been rushing you, sure. Drachma, Ultimate Stride, you have to have 3 up in your G zone. You have to Persona Toss, so if you're on Jamyocongo, you have to toss Jamyocongo to play this. You counterblast 2. Your opponent chooses 3 cards, they ride 1, and then they discard the other 2. And so, yeah. Return. Yeah, let me just read this very carefully. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, you pay the cost. If you do, retire all your opponent's units. Exactly, you got to retire them, so don't forget that. Bind them face up. Your opponent chooses 3 cards from his or her hand, discards 2, and then rides 1 from hand as stand. So, yeah. Yeah, retire all the units. Everything. Just retire. Yep. So, I tend to win games on this, which is really kind of cool. Because Jamyocongo can do that, right? This is one of those things where people may say it's unfair, but you honestly, you have to get to the requirements to do this, and if you can, okay, great. The other thing is, yeah, that's about it. So Makuro is GB2. You discard a card, Soul Blast 2, and you dominate your opponent's Vanguard. It attacks their entire board. Can't guard it. It's board removal. Gets you +1, because then you're going to attack and get to triple drive. So when you attack with your opponent's Vanguard, they typically have twin drive because they're on a grade 3. Pretty weak card I have in here, but there are reasons why you might want to have Megan Tembu. So the way Megan Tembu works is Counterblast 1, during your main phase Counterblast 1, flip a Megan Tembu face up. This also flips a card face up, by the way, but this flips a Megan Tembu face up, and you dominate one of your opponent's rear guards. It gets +3. It attacks another unit. It doesn't have to be the Vanguard, but it can be, and at the end, it will be retired. So if you want to get in an extra attack and there's something you want to retire off the board, you're having a problem getting rid of it, this can step in and do that for you. So that's really why it's in here. Perhaps more importantly for pressure, Mugen Lord is pretty cool. So the way Mugen Lord works is Counterblast 1, choose a Mugen Lord, flip it face up, and choose up to the same number of any player's rear guards as the number of face-up cards from your G zone, and they get plus 4K until end of turn. Stand them, and then attack. So you dominate, basically. You dominate. This can create a lot of battles. So like I said, I don't get like 8, 9, 10, whatever attacks in, but this definitely later game pressuring. And I really have this in here in case I'm not able to make some tokens. So we'll talk about that in a minute. I have a Toggle Lord in here. A Toggle Lord is Chibi-2. On attack, counterblast 1, your opponent chooses one of their cards, binds it face down. Since you're on Jamyocongo, if they've got 4 in hand, they're now going to be at 3. And this card says if your opponent's hand is now at 3 or less, this gets a critical. So chances are it's going to get perfect guarded, but at that point your opponent has 1 card in hand, and chances are you've got some columns, some lanes on either side of your Vanguard to attack with. Lastly, Jakamesa, I'm running this as a pair. You can run this at more copies. I tend to only need it once, if not twice. So you definitely can, like Megan Tembu, if you want to just go up to 4 of this, you could. There are other things that you can do. So yeah, so I'm going to read the one that's a lot more clear to me. So auto, when it attacks as a cost, retire 2 grade 0s and turn a face-up card from your G-zone face-up. Or turn a card in your G-zone face-up. Excuse me there. Draw 2 cards, return all your rear guards to your hand, call up to 2 cards from your hand to rear guard circles. If you call 2, this unit gets plus 10 and a crit. So we're going to talk here about why this is so good with the main deck. So let's go ahead and do that now. Few key cards. Actually, quite a few things in here that we'll say we've got something in Soul. Okay. Ungai, we talked about Ungai. Ungai is really cool because it can reset the opponent's Vanguard. So, and then let's get this as well. Okay. So you're on Jamyocongo. Maybe you've got Tribash and Soul. You stride into this, and your opponent has 4 cards in hand. And so this could be in the discard, right? So one of the things you can do when you call Tanya, okay, when this unit is placed, you could then counterblast 1 and bring this over here if you want to make a column. You could literally put this anywhere. You can put it here, whatever you want to do. The point is, once, and then let's say you've got a Hagakure, and let's say you've got him in play. So what you can do is the following. And it doesn't have to just be with Jakamesa attacking. So you could swing with this, right? And then you could swing with this. And in the process of swinging with this, you then counterblast 1, bring this back to hand, and call 2 tokens, right? 2 tokens. And then now, when you swing with this, you retire these tokens, right? Bring all this back to hand, draw 2 cards, and then you can call this if you would like. Maybe there's another Hagakure in the discard. And then you call this. You want to finish this ability first. You can call these, call this, and then you proc her ability, bring your Hagakure back over here. This has got plus 10. So this is now 37. This is a 37k booster. On attack, you can Soul Blast, give this plus 5 more if you would like. So then you attack with this, put things out, whatever you would like. Attack with this, and then you attack with this, counterblast 1, pop this back to hand because this gets plus 5 for all the grade 0s, and then put these back. So this is getting plus 15, plus whatever you drove check and tossed around. So those are the kind of intricacies that one can do, or I should say that one can consider in terms of lines of play. There are a number of things you can do. It's not totally linear. You have a number of options, and I really like that. It's really pressuring, and I had a lot of fun with it yesterday. So again, my apologies for bringing this a little later than yesterday. I know someone was wanting to test what I was testing, but yeah, I was up pretty late, and this is about the earliest I could honestly get to this realistically. So I hope you like it. I hope that it works out for you. And I look forward to seeing what our producer letter results are going to be, the finale of what the producer's letter was talking about. And so, you know, I know there are people that want this gone. I don't think we should do it. However, we do have Daihosen, which I talked about. We also have this little forgotten cray, Mistoff, which is, or Mistiff, which is really funny. Is it Mischief, or, you know. So, Rearguard Circle, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, at the end of each turn, you and your opponent choose 8 cards from their hands and discard the rest. Yeah, it's not 6, it's 8. The cool thing is your opponent's now not at 10 to 14 or plus cards, which is really annoying. I find that very annoying. So this is an option that we have here. We'll see whether or not we need this, but do keep this in mind. This was a box topper. Yeah, from the set that gave us Zarzan, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a good weekend, that you've had a good week, and that you'll have a great week. Stay safe, fam, and until next time, peace.